Our first lesson, 2.1, is on graphing graphs of equations. And our first problem will look something like this. This is going to look just like yours will in the MyLabs Plus. So you're going to go in where it says y equals on your first problem. You're going to go to the y equals, let me get it back to, so from your home screen, you'll go hit the y equals button. You're going to type in exactly what this says. So I just need to do 4/3 x plus 1. So 4/3. Your x button is this one right here that's got the x right here. So x plus 1. Now, I'm going to graph it just to show you what your graph should look like when you're done. Okay, this doesn't necessarily tell me exactly where points are. So if I go up to this table function, which you'll see is right above graph, to get to anything that's blue on your calculator, hit the second button and then that button. So there's your table. So these are, all these points are on that line, and you can go up and down, okay? You want to choose the points that don't have all these long decimals, okay? So you're only going to need to have 2 points to graph the line. So if you wanted to, you could make a little chart. And let's come up with 2 points, because that's all you're going to need to use when you're graphing a line in MyLabs Plus. So let's see, a good point would be that 0, 1. And then come down here, here's another good point at 3, 5. Now, after this, after you come up with those 2 points, you're going to go into MyLabs Plus. It's going to bring up a graph that looks like this. Below this graph down here, you're going to see a toolbox, and you're going to see one of the tools looks like that. You're going to choose this tool to tell it that that's what you're going to want to graph is a straight line, okay? Because that's exactly what your graph looked like. That's right there is telling you that it's going to be a line. So you choose the line tool from the toolbox. Then you're going to come up to MyLabs Plus, come up to this graph, and plot these 2 points. So your first point is at 0, 1. Now you have to be careful on this one. If you'll notice, since this is a 4, that means these hash marks are actually going by 2s. Okay? So you'll need to go to 0, 1. So left and right 0, and then up 1 would be right in the middle of those 2 hash marks right there. There will be a little cheat thing down at the bottom of MyLabs Plus that'll tell you exactly what point you're on, okay? Now, after you plot the first point by just clicking your mouse right there, then you'll start all over and plot the point 3, 5, which means go to the right 3, and then up 5. Once you plot that second point, your MyLabs Plus will automatically graph the line by connecting the 2 points for you. Okay, number 2, same type of thing, except this time, the difference between the first one and the second one is the first one was already in y equals for me. This one does not say y equals. If you're going to put something in the y equals on your calculator, you've got to have the y by itself. So the first thing I need to do on this problem is solve this equation for the y. So I'll subtract the 3x from both sides. So 6y equals, down here, these 2 terms, I can't put these together. They're not like terms. One's an x and one's a plain number. So you can't put them together. So I'm just dropping them both down. So I've got a negative 3x and a positive 3 over there now. Now, the second thing I need to do is get rid of this 6, which means I'll divide all those terms by that 6 so I can get the y by itself. So now, y equals negative 3, 6, which will reduce to negative 1/2 x plus 3, 6, which is 1/2. So that's what you're going to go put in your y equals. Negative 1/2 x plus 1/2. So to hit the negative button is this one. So negative 1/2 x plus 1/2. Let's see what it's going to look like. It's going to be a straight line. Okay, so now hit second table. So let's look at some good points. Remember, you don't really want to choose points that have decimals. So let's see, there is a point. So let's see, some good points would be at 1, 0, and maybe 3, -1. So 1, 0, and 3, -1. Now, if you'll notice, you always have to check what your graph lines are going by. Do you see the difference between number 1 and then number 2? So this, since that's a 2, that means each one of these hash marks is actually a 1, which makes this a lot easier. Okay, so I'm going to plot these 2 points. There's a point at 1, 0, which means to go to the right 1, and then my y coordinate is 0, so I don't go up or down at all. So I'll put that point right there on the x-axis at 1. The next point is at 3, -1. So again, I'll go to the right 3 for the x-coordinate. This time my y-coordinate, since it's -1, I will go down 1. And again, once you put that second point, MyLabs Plus will automatically graph the two by connecting those 2 points. All right, number 3, y equals -2x squared. So go to your y equals. This one's good. It's already got the y equals for me, so I don't have to do any solving. I'm just going to put exactly this into my y equals. So I'll have, again, -2x. Now, this right here, this button right here, will square your x. So if you just hit that squared, you'll notice that you'll have -2x squared, which is what I want to graph. So let's look at what this graph looks like. This one has a different shape. It's called a parabola, which is what you will see if you are graphing an x squared graph. Okay, so this time when I go into MyLabs Plus, once I click on my graph to tell it I'm ready to graph, once I do that, I'm not going to choose the line tool this time. I'm going to choose the parabola tool, which is the U shape. Okay, it'll look like that. You're going to want to choose that tool out of your toolbox this time. Okay, again, that's what's telling your graph what you want to draw. Now, let's see. We can still go to our table to get some points. So hit second table. So here's some points. Let's choose 3 points this time. So I'll plot a point. There's a good one, 0, 0. Then I'm going to plot the next one. Looks like 1, -2 is a good one. And then if it asks me for a third one, I could plot that 2, -8. So let's see. And again, you could also choose points that go this way. It doesn't matter. It'll take any of the points. So let's see. There's a -1, -2. So I can choose any of these points out of this table to plot. So let's see, the 0, 0 point, right there at the origin. Let's see, 1, -2. Well, this means to go right 1 for the x, down to -2 for the y, and put that point. Now, this third point, 2, -8, so that would mean to go to the right 2, and then down to -8. So there's that point. Now, if you would have chosen to plot this one, that -1, -2, that would have been to go to x's -1 coordinate and then down to -2. Now, once you have plotted enough points, it's going to draw that U shape upside down like you saw in the graph. So you'll notice the plots that you pointed just made the graph that you just graphed in your calculator. All right, number 4, y equals x squared plus 4. So go back to y equals, clear it out, x, again, your squared button, plus 4. So let's see what this one will look like. Again, it's an x squared graph, which means it's going to make that U shape. So let's get some points. Second table. Let's see. Let's do that one. -1, 5. Let's see. 0, 4. And that one. 1, 5. So let's see what these points make on the graph. Again, the graph goes, each one is 1 this time, so I don't have to worry about going halfway. So -1, 5. So there's that point. 0, 4. Since my x-coordinate is 0, I don't go left or right at all. I'm just going to go up 4 for the y-coordinate. And then the point at 1, 5. So to the right 1, up 5. And again, once you've drawn those, plotted those points, the math lab will connect it, and then you'll see that it does match what you have in your calculator. All right, number 5. This is going to give us a different shape now. So let's go back to y equals. Again, the y is by itself, so I don't have to do any work solving. I'm just going to type in -5 over x. So -5 over x. Let's see what that looks like. This is a rational function. When you have an x in your denominator, it's going to give you a function, a graph that looks like this. So let's see. This one's multiple choice, so I'm just coming down here and seeing which one my graph matches. Obviously, it's not C or D because it's not a straight line. Okay, these both resemble this, so I need the one that goes up in this coordinate like this, and then down in this coordinate like this, so B. All right. Back to y equals absolute value of x minus 4. So clear that out. So now we need to figure out how we're going to type in the absolute value. If you go to your math button and then go over to number. So I went right over to number. The number 1, this ABS stands for absolute value. So once I hit enter, it's going to put these absolute value bars into your y equals. So inside those absolute value bars, I'm going to type x minus 4 and get out of there. So now let's see what that's going to make. It doesn't make a U, it's going to make a V shape. That's the shape that the absolute value function is going to give you. So let's look at our table to get some points. Now, on this graph in particular in Math Lab, the instructions are going to tell you to plot the vertex first. Let's look at what the vertex is. The vertex is this point right here where this V stops going down and starts going back up. It's the point at where it changes the direction. So it's this point right here. So that point, my x coordinate is going to be the 4. So let's look at which one that is in our table. This point right here, where the x-coordinate is 4, that's your vertex. That's where, if you'll notice on either side of this point, look, you'll notice that they start mirroring each other. That's because that's where the V graph is going to mirror itself, okay? So the first point you're going to have to plot is that 4, 0 on your graph. And again, it only makes you do this on the absolute value one. So plot that point first, and then you can plot any other of the points that are in your calculator. So 3, 1 would be to the right 3, up 1. Let's go to the other side of the vertex. So this would be 5, 1. So over 5, up 1. So again, once you've plotted those points, it'll draw that V shape that you saw in your calculator. Okay? All right, number 7. All right, back to y equals. So this time it's going to give me a new shape because it's x cubed. It's going to be a cubic function. So let's see what that makes. So type in your x. Now, to make it go, usually if it's squared, I can just come down and hit the x squared button. Any other exponent besides squared, you're going to use this. This will get your cursor up into the exponent, okay? And then you'll just type in whatever exponent it is. So x to the third. All right, let's see what shape this graph makes. This is your cubic function, okay? It makes kind of that squiggle line, okay? Now, it doesn't make, you can plot any points from this graph. Now, if you'll notice, the y-coordinates start getting big really fast. So you're not going to have a lot to choose from to be able to fit on your graph. So let's see what will be some good points, okay? If there's a 0, 0 point on the graph, I always like to graph that because it's the easiest point to plot. So we'll plot that 0, 0, and then let's see, maybe one down from there, 1, 1. And let's see, what's the next one? 2, 8, or I could go up. I could do that one. Either way. So -1, -1. So let's plot these 3 points. So there'll be a point at 0, 0. Another point at 1, 1. So to the right 1 and up 1. And then -1, -1, which means to the left 1 and down 1. Okay? Now, again, this is not drawing a line, even though it's looking like it. This right here will show you what's happening on the graph. So this is where it makes that squiggle move right there. Again, when you have, the first thing you're going to do before you start plotting points is, remember, you're going to have to choose a tool down in the toolbox. You're going to choose the tool that looks like that, the cubic tool, which will tell your graph once you're plotting points that you're trying to make this shape. So once you have plotted a couple of points, it'll make the cubic shape for you with the points that you're choosing from your table. All right, number 8. Back to y equals, clear it out. I've got x, go down to the squared, -6. Again, a squared graph makes that U shape, so that's what you're telling it before you plot any points, is you're going down and choosing the U tool, the parabola tool, to make this shape. So let's get a couple of points. Let's see, I can do that one that it's on right there, -2, -2. Oh, forget that. -2, -2. Let's see, other points are -1, -5. Let's say if I came down here and did any of these positive points, what's that one at? 3, 3. Again, choose the parabola tool and then plot any of the 2 of those points. So -2, -2 would mean go to the left 2, down 2. -1, -5. So to the left 1 and then down 5. Let's see what this makes the shape do. 3, 3. So to the right 3 and then up 3. So you can kind of see where this U shape is coming from. Okay? So it's going to look somewhere similar to this. So again, once you plot those 3 points, since you have told your graph that you want it to be that U shape, it'll connect those points to draw the U for you. And that's the end of lesson 1.